Good morning, everyone, and of course, good evening for colleagues over the other side of the pond. Thank you, Dr. Irvin-Erickson, for sponsoring the event, and the Carter Center School for Conflict and Resolution of George Mason University for giving us this platform to share Burma's dire situation with you all. My name is Mara Dagipo with the U.S. Campaign for Burma, an organization dedicated to empowering grassroots activists worldwide to advocate for human rights and also work towards ending the military dictatorship in Burma. Since the attempted coup in Burma in 2021, the Burmese junta continue to escalate their violent attacks on the people of Burma. And we've learned that the situation on the ground is only becoming more dire, with civilians suffering greatly while the international community, including our government here, pays little to no attention to their plight. So to date, we have more than 18 million who are in need of humanitarian assistance, and also more than 3 million civilians have been displaced throughout the country. And over 8,000 civilians have been killed by the Burmese military, partly as a result of more than 2,400 airstrikes and 210 massacres since 2021. And so these stark figures highlights the urgent need for the increased awareness and action to address the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Burma. Having said that, the junta takeover the country and targeted attacks have not deterred the people from standing up for their rights. So as a result, over 27,000 civilians have been arrested and more than 20,000 detained. But the fight for the inclusive federal democracy and basic human rights, which started as the civil disobedience movement, has evolved into a spring revolution. Instead of stamping out the spark, the junta destructive actions have only ignited the firestorm and cannot be snuffed out. And so in response, the junta oppression, to the junta's oppression, the people have become creative and innovative in their ways of resistance. And that include the three amazing, strong women leaders that we have with us today who will be sharing their view, their experience with us. Rosalinn Zahau, who is the legal researcher with extensive experience in South and Southeast Asia and the US. She specialized in analyzing Burma constitution draft and laws. And her impressive background include law degree from the University of Delhi, graduate degree from the University of London, and then Harvard Law School. And also she works with various NGOs on legal reform, civil society strengthening, and human rights protection, including contributions to the changed state constitutions before 2021 military coup. And then Dr. Yin Htun. Dr. Su is a former US Asia Fulbright scholar and a law professor at the University of Mandalay, specializing in human rights law, and is also a longtime human rights defender. After participating in civil disobedience movement following the military coup, she now serves as the executive committee, serve on the executive committee of the NUG, the National Unity Government, Ministry of Education, sorry. And she's heading the International Affairs Department with continuing her work in human rights research and education. And Thinzar Shunlei, Thinzar is the prominent Burma democracy activist who has been fighting for justice and peace in Burma since 2012. And she's also leading advocacy effort against military supremacy and for the rights for the minorities. And despite facing legal challenges and an arrest warrant from the military junta, She continues her work through global campaigns like Sisters to Sisters, collaborating with civil society coalitions, and also promotes human rights and democracy during the Burma ongoing revolution. And Dr. Douglas Irvin-Erickson, he's a scholar of genocide and mass atrocities prevention at the Carter School. He is the author of numerous publications on genocide, human security, and also international crimes, criminal law. And she served as a senior fellow with the Alliance for Peace Building and holds editorial positions in prominent academic journals. With no further ado, Professor, I'd like to hand it over to you.
So this is such a joy to for a Tuesday morning to be with all of you here in DC, and we have some people who are coming in from all around the world. So good afternoon, good evening. It's really nice to see you. So if it's okay to jump in after this generous introduction, if we can go directly with the first question to Dr. Su. So you were involved directly on the ground with the civil disobedience movement, and you even spearheaded street strikes with the University of Mandalay, the Teachers Union, and the Students Union. Can you start off our conversation by sharing your experiences and how you were able to organize and execute large-scale protests as the Burmese military escalated its targeted attacks on rallies and protests?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Douglas Irvin-Erickson. And thank you very much for giving me this chance to participate in this special talk by the Carter School. I'm so excited to talk about my experience on that civil disobedience movement. So may I talk about why I take part in the civil disobedience movement and why I went to the street strike as a professor role and as a public service role. So first of all, I would like to say I totally never accept this military coup, because this military coup is a fourth time military coup detected in our country. So gazing at our country's history, so we had been faced, Myanmar people had been faced the 4 times military coup in 1959, 1962, 1988, and this 2021. So this 2021 military coup is totally violated the Myanmar Constitution 2008. So Constitution 2008 is what the military junta drafted the constitution by their will. So military itself violates the constitution, what they drafted, what they adopted. And, you know, the Constitution 2008, it has many unfair provisions, but we assume that we can change our politics and we can change legal system, and we can try to adapt our politics and political system, and then we are trying to have the access to justice and fundamental human rights. And we have some provisions about the democracy, election, and some fundamental human rights. So military itself violates the Section 4 of the Constitution that provides the sovereign power of the Union is derived from the citizens. So military violate all the people's votes. So in that election, we can see that election has held after the COVID-19 epidemic. So people take their risk of life to pay vote, to go to the election. So this is what the military attempted to violate our people's right to life and our people's political rights of the right to vote. So I cannot accept that military coup. And then on February 1, 2021, we had cut off our communication. We had cut off our mobile phone services. So we didn't know that that is the military coup d'etat. We didn't know it. And at the afternoon of 1st February, so we knew that this is military coup. And then we organized our friends, we organized our teachers, and then we met online on that day of the military coup. And then we discussed it. We never accept. We could not accept. So how shall we do to fight against the military coup? And then we discussed it to do the civil disobedience movement on 1st February. But at that time, we didn't decide to take a street strike on that day because we thought about the Daw San Suu Kyi and parliament members because they are in Naypyidaw and they were trying to start the third time of the governance system. So we assumed that we should have waited for anything, and then we should have waited how we overcome this situation. And then on 2nd February and 3rd February, we had organized all the civil service in Yangon and in Dangji and in other areas. So we had a big meeting to do the civil disobedience movement. And then we had campaigns. We don't accept the military coup, and we made a campaign at all the universities around the country. And then this was the very start point of the civil disobedience movement to decide the street strike. And then in my city, Mandalay, there are about 5 or 6 universities of the specialization. So medical universities, Yadanabon University, Mandala University, and Kachre University. So we had organized all the universities, and we made a label. This is free strike from the universities in Mandalay. And then we organized with the teachers' unions, students' unions, and staff unions from the universities in Mandalay. And then we have started the street strike on February 7, 2021. And then we could organize many people. Our strike force about, I think, thousands of CDM staff and CDM students. And then you know that our location of the University of Mandalay. So University of Mandalay is situated in the downtown of the Mandalay city. So all the strike protesters come from different places to the University of Mandalay. And in front of my university, there is a military troop. So, you know, they watch all the time what we are doing. So whenever we went to the street, whenever we went to the street strike and political campaigns and political awareness raising, they were always watching. And then they were always tracing to our street strike. And you know, all of us have nothing on our hand. So this is the power of powerless. So we shout, we never accept this military coup. So we only shouted and we have only water bottle. So, till March 27, that is the revolution day of the military coup. So from February 7 to March 27, we can go through the city and we can organize with other strike forces like workers union and like political organization. And we had thousands of protesters in Mandalay, and then we met at one point at the railway station, and we did the political campaigns, and we did the awareness raising to the public. This is our solidarity, and this is our force. We don't accept the military coup because that violates the democracy and our right to vote and our political rights. So for me, as a teacher, law professor, and I'm always defending the human rights against any unfair or injustice. So I wrote many papers about the human rights, and I wrote about the citizenship law and Rohingya people. And, at that time, I have started to write the research paper about the Rohingya issues. I had many negative criticism from the government body and from my Ministry of Education. So I always had the threat letters, you will be demotion. Don't write human rights again. Don't write about the Rohingya issues. Don't mention Rohingya instead of Bengali. So I always have like that kind of negative threats. And, from my participation of the CDM movement and from my participation of the street strike, and then I support some humanitarian assistance to CDM staff and CDM teacher. That's why I was fired from job in February 2021. I am the earliest one who was fired from jobs, because Ministry of Education has our profiles. They have a database of our civil service persons. And then I was fired from job on in April 2021, and I have faced many threats, and I have faced police cops have come to my home and they searched me several times, and then I moved from one place to another place for several times in Mandalay. But it is very difficult for a woman to move from one place to another place. But I can say I could escape with the arbitrary arrestment from the police and military, because in March 2021, military has overcome to the University of Mandalay, and they monopolized our university. And then since March 2021, I could not live in the university campus, because I always live in the university campus through my service life. So I never come back to my apartment. And then, they seized my properties in the University of Mandalay. And then I worry to be arbitrarily arrested. So I never go back to the university apartment. That's why I could escape from the arrest. And police cop went to my home and they searched at my home. And then my family also worried to be arrested. So not only me, but also my family moved from one place to another place, and then we fled to Thai border. So, the CDM staff has many challenges to overcome this situation, and all of my power is resistance. So this resistance comes from the solidarity and comes from the power to defend the human rights for our people. And I can say that this military coup is totally ruined for our country's transition, because 2008 Constitution has many assholes to protect the people and to establish the rule of law in country. So actually, we cannot have a very good system for rule of law and protection of human rights to our people. But we were trying to have good protection system for the people. At that time, military ruined all the things we have done. So we have made a lot of reforms under the 2008 Constitution. Although the Constitution is unfair Constitution, we have tried too much. And this military coup d'etat ruined all of our things. So that's why we made a solidarity each other, and we made a big network with each other, and we support with each other. Thank you very much. I can say I can answer from first question. Thank you.
Well, thank you for this, Dr. Su. I have so many questions for you. I want to the two other panelists that we have some experience that I think can deepen parts of what you said. So if it's okay, I'd like to ask each one of them one question and then circle back and then we can ask some more as we see connections. So for Shunlei, my question for you is actually related to what Dr. Su was talking about with her experiences with the CDM movement. So I was wondering if you can share your experience with the Spring Revolution, but also talk about the importance of translating online platforms into resistance spaces. I would like to come back at the end and ask Dr. Su about her experiences of creative strategies and organizing resistance. So hopefully we can use this to as a way to bridge a conversation between you two.
Thank you, Doctor. Firstly, I'd like to appreciate all the organizers and also all of you who show up today. You decided to come together, and that means a lot to me and to all of us, and also to the revolution, that you are stay interested in the movement, you stay interested in learning more about the revolution. And also I appreciate the fact that I could connect to you using internet, given the fact that in Myanmar, there are a lot of internet shutdown, and VPNs, blogging, all the websites were blocked and so on. So I felt that's such a privilege that I could connect to you directly and share my experiences. So I would say what I've been doing since the revolutions in 2021, I would say I've been doing the same thing. I've been doing the same thing since I started becoming an activist in 2012. I was working on human rights and democracy and saying the same thing, talking about how human rights are important, how democratic principles should be the integral part of the revolutions. So, but what kept me going is the innovative ways in saying the same thing. That kept me going. That gave me energies. And also the fact that COVID-19 hit us before the coup, it was not a good part, of course. It was traumatic experience for us too, but the COVID-19 put us all online. Everybody was forced to stay inside, and we all learned to use Zoom meeting, for example, how to be connecting to our friends and colleagues, you know. So all of it, that gave us a chance and opportunity. And when the coup happened, everybody felt of course, it's the darkest nightmare that we could imagine. But at the same time, for so many activists, so many human rights defenders, we felt like, see, this is the military showing its true color. And then they will desire what they already showed themselves. Then they will know how the people will show its true power. So then we felt like maybe we could see it as a really difficult, traumatic experience, but at the same time, we also saw that it's an opportunity. We could turn this stone, you know, stepping stone into our opportunities, use it as a stepping stone for our missions and ambition for federal democracy. So with that hope, with that energy, we all decided at least maybe they might take over their infrastructure like offices and the ministry and all this, but you know, our generation Z, generation X, Y, Z, we shouldn't let them conquer our online space. That was our first determination that we would take over. We are the digital generation. We should be smart. We are using smartphone, so we should be smart generations. In that sense, I think we all managed to be more using internet online tools to counter Honda. And in that sense, I think Honda also loses control over so many online spaces. So since the revolution time, I've been working on the Union Human Rights Commission law drafting, and I've been focusing on this for like 4 months. And of course, using internet. I was just sitting in front of a computer like 9 to 9 p.m. and just in the middle of, you know, small house in a safe space with the internet in Mesa, in border town. And I could connect to the international lawyers who could give a suggestion on how to draft better of a Union Human Rights Commission law. And I was also talking to the grassroots civil society human rights activist using the internet, using phone telecommunications, all this, we made it happen. And apart from that, now currently I'm heading 3 organizations, to be honest. That could mean a lot, like, oh my God, 3 organizations, that's a lot. But I must say, I'm not alone anymore. Even though I would do 3 different things, but I'm doing them with different phases. You know, in the past, we are like a small number of activists, and we know each other all the time. Wherever we go, we are the same people. But after 2021 revolution, we've seen so many people. Now I'm working, 80% of my colleagues are new faces. 80% of my colleagues are from different backgrounds, from tourism, from legal academic background, professor, they are the PhD scholar, you know, all of them are now, even soldiers themselves, even police themselves are working with us right now. They defected the revolution, they defected to the revolution, and now they're working with activists, human rights defenders. So in this revolution, I think out of 3 organizations that I've been working with, 2 of them are largely focusing on online space. You know, Sister to Sister is an online campaign with some on-ground activity in Mesa, along the border. Also, People's Goal is an organization advocating for defection, working with the defectors themselves and police and soldiers. We are also campaigning and advocating, reaching out our messages to use the internet online and penetrating our messages into the military and their family members. And the other organization, Strategy Initiative Forum, that I'm being a part of as a deputy director, we are 16 organizations, including KNU, KNPP, and also WLB, GSC. All of these groups, we are working, targeting land violence, civil resistance, creative, strategic activities internally. So these are the activities I've been focusing on since the revolution. Thank you for the first question.
Thank you so much for this. I want to keep our eyes on the time here, and Rosalinn, can I turn it to you, because we had some interesting things come up in both comments here around constitutions and innovative ways to resist. And then I caught the part about lawyers can be in the resistance too. So I'm wondering if you can talk about your experience in legal research and constitutional analysis, yes, but also this other really interesting question that I think about comes with drafting of legal processes, but then advocating and building consensus, and the way that this might be somehow tied to forms of resistance and solidarity amongst ethnic groups in Burma. And so I turn it over to you.
First of all, thank you so much to Amat Myra and her team for putting together this, and also to the center for hosting us, and to Dr. Irvin-Erickson for moderating the panel. And I can't say much because my two colleagues, my two sisters, have eloquently put together all the points, including the illegality of 2008 Constitution and how people from all walks of life in Burma have come together to resist the military. But yes, if I may just add some more points to that point in the discussion. I think there are many of us in this room today who have been following closely what's happening inside Burma, and we might also have people who are still new to Burma. So welcome to those who are still new to Burma, and we hope that you will continue to give more attention to Burma in the coming days and the coming years, and that you will stand with us in our resistance against the very brutal military junta that we now have in Burma. So without much further ado, if I may jump into the question, back in March, the end of March 2021, the exiled parliament, which we call CRPH, announced that they have abolished the 2008 Constitution. As Dr. Su mentioned, 2008 Constitution was the very constitution that the military had drafted over 18 years. They took 18 years to come up with that constitution to make sure that they can retain their power, even if they are chased out of the political arena through democratic means. Example, even if they don't get elected through elections, they will still retain many seats in the parliament. Without their consent, the constitution cannot be amended, etc. So it was against democratic norms. It was also fundamentally very flawed. So the CRPH announced that it has been abolished. And along with that announcement, the whole country, whoever were against the military rule, we have not been following that constitution. We don't consider that as the constitution that drives the whole country. We have been resisting that very fundamentally flawed document. So I think that's a very good sign for the whole country, because it has taken years and years for the whole country to try to resist or try to not follow that constitution. And along with that, the military also came up with a lot of new laws. They amended several domestic laws. They also put out a lot of orders. They also took control of courtrooms across the country. They declare martial law across several townships within the country. And with that, many lawyers, even though they do not agree with the new laws and the new orders imposed by the military, they have to try to be there for the people, because having lawyers still helps the people when they are faced with arbitrary laws, when they are faced with judges who are tightly controlled and who controlled by the military, who still have to follow the orders of the military junta. So in those ways, lawyers inside who are still under the SAC is the council that's ruling, that's sort of controlling the country right now as dictators. So those who are still functioning under SAC rules still try to innovatively, but in a very subdued and in a very limited way, they try to stand on the side of the people as much as they can. In many incidents, when they try to defend well-known activists or well-known scholars who were arrested, they would be threatened, they would be physically harmed. So they have not been safe, but despite that, many lawyers across the country, they've been trying their best to stand on the side of the people. Those who manage to get out of the country, or those who are lucky enough to be outside, everyone tries to highlight as much as they can about the flaws, the illegality of the laws, and they try to inform the international communities about the happenings, the processes, and the type of abuses that people have been made to go through inside the country. That would include, when we say highlights, that could include in a written form, in verbal form, like what we do right now today, and also engaging with policymakers across different countries. Many people have been displaced to different countries across the world. They continue to do advocacy by highlighting these abuses, about these unjust processes and laws. And the second thing is, a lot of people have been documenting these abuses as well. And here comes the benefit of the information technology. As Thinzar said, they are now, everyone is now united in their efforts to resist the military. So whatever you do, whatever we do, people are very collaborative. We all work together. We share information to each other. You might be based somewhere inside in a village with very limited or sporadic internet connections, but you may be sending me tons of information that I can, store and verify and, make sure that they are in line with international standards here, for example, and that in itself is such a big step, I think. In the past, the military have done a lot of human rights abuses, but not many people were equipped or interested enough in, or we're aware enough to document these systematically, but we can now do that with the help of information technology and also with this newfound unison or unity among different ethnic groups, different people from different backgrounds. And also, I think Dr. Arvin also talked about the importance of consensus. That's the key thing when it comes to constitution or developing a new constitution or amending constitution, because the constitution itself is the main key document that will drive the country. And in the past, we've never had any chance to sit down together, talk about how we want to form the country or the nation that would be inclusive, that would treat everyone equally, that would take into consideration the different backgrounds that we all come from. Many of you might know already, but some of us may not be aware that Burma itself was never a single nation. That was, I mean, to form the Union of the Union of Burma, many like small nations come together, and they with the agreement that everyone would be treated equally in this newly formed union. That's how Burma came into existence. I'm not putting it in a very articulative way, but I'll try to answer that or try to put it into more perspective in the Q&A session or later on. So when different nations came together, they had this hope and this promise that they will be treated equally, but they weren't treated equally. But now with this revolution, we now talk to each other more. We now try to understand each other's backgrounds. We now try to understand each other's interests and where we come from. Before this military coup took place, no one really took the time to understand each other's backgrounds, each other's aspirations and interests. So I think this consensus building itself has come about as a silver lining, a blessing in disguise in a way. If one has to be extremely positive or try to get a positivity like out of all the negative and all the troubles that we have going on. I'll stop here for now, but thank you for the question.
I like the framing of if one has to be extremely positive. This is I like that. If we have to, we can try. So in the spirit of having to try to be positive, I'm going to ask a question for all three panelists. And during this time, I have a task for the people who are on the Zoom call, which is to think of some questions, because we have until 11:15. It's plenty of time for a conversation. And I think it would be very nice to have some questions from the audience. I will ask you to put them into the chat or raise your hands, however you see fit. But most importantly, when I call on you, please turn on your video, unmute yourself, and then please just real quickly identify who you are, if you feel comfortable doing that. And this helps us to have a conversation. Okay, so as you're all thinking of your questions, my question to each of the speakers is that one thing that I think we can't ignore here has to do with, and I was thinking about this when you're talking about sisters to sisters, about how women's groups in Burma can help create this kind of solidarity that's necessary for structured resistance. And I want to come back and sort of emphasize here that we've titled this panel Innovative Ways to Resist. So can the three of you please talk a little bit about how you imagine innovation, what you found innovative, but also talk about the importance of this women's solidarity and women's networks for resistance. Thank you. So who should begin first? Myra, I'll let you pick who begins first.
In terms of how we innovate our movement, when we talk about nonviolent civil resistance or like a political defiance movement, we've been giving trainings along the border. Also in the past, we have received so many training in terms of political defiance, in terms of innovative, creative, ways to advance our causes way before the coup and so on. But I think it's the most important thing is the process. It's not just about the ideas. It's about the process where how many people that you put together and where they are from, which background they were from. That talk a lot about it. Like when I remember in the some of the trainings where we gather the same type of people, we always come to the same ideas and same way and doing things. But when we put together different types of people from different background, coming from business sector or like maybe academic sector, and these people have a different way of doing things that we never thought that it could be a way. So that's how the Spring Revolution is now it's all around, and it's cross-sectoral, it's intergenerational, and that's how it's like we have done so many innovative ways. For example, in Sister to Sister, we are a group of different feminists coming from different backgrounds. Like I would say in the whole coalition that we have, I'm the only one with the NGO background, but the rest of them are from different background, and we came with like different innovative ideas. For example, we talk Telegram Heart Woman. So Telegram is being hearting women, but we never thought it should put that in a hashtag. So like Telegram Heart Woman became a hashtag, and that went viral, and Telegram had to put down some of the channels that are being like platforming the online violence against women. So those kind of innovative ideas are coming in and out. But another issue is not just the innovative idea that come top of our head and we implemented that. What about sustaining these ideas? That's come with what resources you have, what sort of resistance, what sort of resilience that you have as an organization, as yourself. And when we ran out of your energy, when you are being attacked, when you are mentally tired, do you have enough resources to keep it going? So that's a big question right now at the time, like 3 years on. I will stop for now because there are many different creative company that I can think right now. Just sharing the process. Thank you.
Dr. Su, Rosalinn, would you like to answer that question?
Sisters, so all of us are doing so smart for our country. So for me, I dedicated my life in education. So I took part in the education reform, and I took part in the lobbying to ratify the international human rights treaty like ICCPR, ICESCR. So for me, actually, I don't have many things to do beyond the education and doing research about the human rights. So I joined the Ministry of Education under the National Unity Government. So before joining the National Unity Government, I formed the University Interim Council of my university. So we have the University of Mandalay Interim Council. So our University Interim Council organized the students and teachers, and as well as the administrative staff. So, about 60% of the staff joined the CDM movement. So we formed the University Interim Council, and we did a big network to connect with other university interim councils. And then we joined the Ministry of Education under NUG. And we have tried to make resilience for the CDM staff to keep taking part in the CDM movement. And all of us were fired from the job, and all of us were jobless as well as the incomeless. And then our students are very poor because they have paused their education since the COVID-19 epidemic in 2020. And then in 2021, they boycotted the military slave education. So they don't go to the university. And then they have paused their education at the university education. So, the most senior students who are closely to get their graduation. So they have paused their education. So we consider that how to fulfill their continuous education, and then how to develop our professionals' development. So we considered about it, and then I joined the Ministry of Education under the NUG, and then we tried to build an online education system for the University of Education as well as for the basic education. So, and we could establish the 4 sectors of the education. So higher education, basic education, teachers education, and vocational education. So all of the online education system is to fulfill the human resources for our country, and then to fulfill the right to education for our children and university students. And honestly speaking, it was not very easy for us to build an online education, to establish a model system for all of us, because our students have the problems of the internet. So, military use the 4-cut system all of the places, and our students and our teachers have the problem to access the internet, and then electric shortage. And, to learn the online education, children and university students should have devices. So, our country is very poor, and 29% of the population stay in urban area. So the rest of 71% are staying in rural area, and they have the economic challenges and technical challenges. So, to build an online education system and to call for the students to join the online education. So students are very hard to try to join it. And then most of the students have low motivation to keep learning study, because they are interested in the revolution, and they are interested to take part in the dynamic process to win our revolution. So to start online education is very innovative way for our country, because we never have the online education system by public before the military coup. So we have tried so many things to start the online education. And in 2023, we could solve the problems for the teenagers to pass the matriculation exam. So we from the Ministry of Education implement the basic education completion assessment. It is like a GED, and it is like an online completion assessment to go to the university. It is like a bridge from the basic education to the university education. So now we have the online universities under the NUG MOE, and we have the online schools for the children under NUG. And then in the liberated area where there are less control by the military junta, we have thousands of physical schools at the liberated areas in Sakai, Magui, Kachin, Shan, Karini, and other liberated area. So this is what we are doing for our students. And then for our teachers, CDM teachers, they are actually striving their lives inside country, because online education, we can form online education system, but we cannot pay a regular salary to them, and our teachers are very hard to give the education service to our students without salary. But Ministry of Education can provide very few amount for the content creation for the online education. So we are now trying to give the professional development for our teachers, and we are now trying to give the formal education system to our students. And then I have involved in the non-formal education system. It is like political awareness raising, or some short courses about the constitutional federalism and fundamental human rights law courses. So this is like what we set up. The unanimous goal is to throw down the military and to build a federal democratic country, and to protect our people for the human rights. So I can say that we are trying to set up a very innovative way to our people from the education sector. But I can do only it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. So we have some, questions in the chat, which Dr. Su, you read. And I think what I would like to do is ask for Nang Tue, if you could unmute yourself and show your video and ask your question, and then we'll return to the chat for some more.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you for organizing this. This is Nang Tue. I'm a first year PhD student at Carter School at George Mason, and I have a simple question. So I'm from Northern Shan State. I was in the country until mid-August this year. So if you've been following the news in Myanmar, you know what I'm talking about. So I'll be asking very simple question, and I think my question somehow is very similar to Usai Trimao asked, Mike Sungka. So solidarity and resisting it's difficult when you don't have food on your table. And it's very difficult because I have gone through that. I have lived through really like very violent fightings. So my question is, the National Unity Government, NUG, has come up with this CDM policy, and it has not been perceived well in the country by the people who have been resisting because they have no choice to leave the country. And thank you, Rosalinn, for highlighting that too in your sharing. So what do you think NUG should do to support better of these people who cannot participate in your CDM movement? Because they have no choice, they cannot leave the country, they don't have the financial privilege or social capital privilege, like they cannot leave the country. What can NUG do to better support them? And that's one thing. And what can NUG do to better support those who are participating relentlessly in this CDM movement? Because things have been really getting worse economically. They have no money. Thank you. I think I'll stop that. Thank you. Yeah.
Was
Sorry.
it to
Sorry,
anyone?
that question would be so I to Dr. Su, and Dr. Su, I'm also a Fulbright alumni, so we are sisters.
Thank you very much, Nang, and thank you very much, Scientist Mao, for your questions. And I'm happy to answer your questions, but I would like to tell you first. I am not a member of NUG government. I am voluntarily working at the Ministry of Education, especially at the International Affairs Department of the NUG MOE. Why I joined the International Affairs of the NUG MOE is I would like to help our CDM teachers and CDM students to connect with the international community and to connect with the universities abroad because they need to receive for the humanitarian assistance and education, like with the scholarships and fellowships as well. So I have the humanitarian affairs, like I discussed with international organizations like scholarship organizations to accept our students to join the universities abroad and to keep their studies like tailoring at the universities abroad, because most of our students don't have the transcript because they could not go to the university to ask their academic transcript like a mark certificate or bachelor certificate. So to accept their education from their foreign universities without the academic transcript, I discussed with many universities and scholarship organizations to accept our recommendation letter or our transcript with the personal interview of their skills and capacities. And then we have agreement from some organizations, and now dozens of our students are now learning at the universities abroad. And then our teachers and students who are outside the country and who have some problem like their passport term and their visa term outside the country. At that time, we need to support the certified letter or appeal letter. So, and then I have to write that kind of letters under the NUG MOE and then send to the foreign countries. And most of the countries accept our certified letter, recommendation letters, and they have got the humanitarian assistance from their current residing country. So this is my work at the NUG MOE. And I would like to answer they are assigned 2 months questions. So how impacted our CDM status to SAC? So I can see that SAC has many troubles to run their administration without many public staff, because most of the qualified staff, civil service personnel, joined the CDM movement, and then they had trouble to run the administration at different sectors of the country. And we can see that in 2022, SAC called for the new appointment at the different sector for administration. It is like what they accept, they don't have enough civil service personnel to run the administration, and then they want to produce new generation who are accepting their order, rule and order, not rule of law. So rule and order to the civil service personnel, and what they want to receive is not that person. So whatever military talk, that kind of non-CDM staff will do whatever the military order. So military appointed the new civil service personnel. So it means they don't have enough human resources to run their administration. And then we already know that, all of you might know that most of the countries, democratic countries, don't accept the military coup. And then they mention in their statement, they don't accept military coup. So it means SAC has stopped the international cooperation to support them, but they have very few countries to support them. So it means international cooperation and is a lack of to the military junta, and then the non-CDM staff or newcomers of the civil service personnel don't have the international cooperation. So it means they are very closed their eyes and ears to accept, to run their administration without the lack of democracy and human rights. So it is very worse situation in this 21st century. All of the countries go to the civilized country. All of the countries try to protect fundamental human rights to its people. But our country, SAC, are doing the other situation like crimes against humanity. We have crimes against humanity. We have genocides. We have brutalities. We have war crime. So this is the worst state around the world, I think. So this is what we joined the CDM movement and what we are trying to build a federal democratic country. And then for a new government, for Nan's questions, actually a new government has a financial problem to provide the regular salaries to the CDM staff or to the staff who helps at the NUG government. NUG has that kind of problem. It is a big problem of financial. And then all of us are helping voluntarily at the NUG government. It is for the revolution success. So for me, we only have very, very small amount of Myanmar currency to work at the NUG government. So most of the CDM staff wants to help annuity government, but annuity government cannot pay salary, and then they have the struggles of their life. So, CDM teachers are now selling their business, very, very small business. They are like very small vendors, and then, they are like hard workers. So our struggles are ruined by the SAC, and resilience and resistance are very, very most important part for the CDM teachers. So actually, we want to keep our professional life. So teachers want to teach. So in this part, in the Sustainable Development Goals, 17 goals of Sustainable Development Goals for the world, but CDM teachers don't have access to Sustainable Development Goals. We are striving for the resistance. We are struggling for our right to life. So this is our problem. Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful response. So we have two very good questions here. I'm going to, because we have only about 10 minutes left, I'm going to suggest that Dr. Rosalinn, the question that's directed to you about ASEAN's consensus on the peace process, this could be a whole panel and a whole dissertation, but it's a question I'm very interested in. However, because we only have a few minutes left, I would like to ask Thinzar, Shunlei, and Rosalinn too about two other questions that were in the chat, which is one, so there's a question about the internet shutdown, which I think we covered, that yes, there was some, you can talk maybe a little bit about that, and about how people maintain communications in the face of this kind of repression. But also, I like number one, because we have lots of students from the US here on this Zoom call. How can ordinary Americans help the democratic movement in Burma? So I would like to ask you for maybe we have about 10 minutes, if you could take 5 minutes each to speak to these. And then we apologize for not talking about ASEAN and the peace process. To you.
Thank you so much, everyone. If I would just focus on the first one, how can normal citizens, US citizens contribute? That's a very good question. In 2022, the US Congress passed a law called the Burma Act under the larger NDAA, and it has a lot of provisions that state that the US government would extend support to the NUG or to the resistance movement, and that it will also provide non-lethal assistance. And the Congress also has appropriated some funds, over 100 million last year, and likely this year too. But appropriation is not enough. Implementation is what we need the most. And in your own capacities, it's very important for you to advocate on our behalf by reaching out to your Congress members, to your senators, especially if they know about Burma. It's a very good groundwork already. They've done the groundwork. All you need to focus on is asking them to put more pressure to the administrative departments or to agencies to implement as fast as they can, and also to give non-lethal assistance. The question also relates to internet connection. Starlink connection, for example, would be a life changer for a lot of people, and that's something that the US government can provide. So please advocate on our behalf so that they can implement what has been promised in these laws. And for the very first time through this act, they also stated in legal terms that they will also support ethnic armed organizations. That has never happened. This is a watershed moment for a lot of people back home, resistance groups. So all we need is for you to keep, reinforcing these promises made through the law on our behalf. And the second thing is also a lot of diaspora communities here in the US has also been doing a lot of advocacies. We need more solidarity. We need more people to join us in our efforts to advocate to the Congress members. So please reach out to us. We would love to work together. And we also need a lot of volunteers who can write up, great, effective write-ups. So we always need people. So please help us out. And I also would like to add a little bit more to the CDM policies. What we have to understand is that the NUG government depends on crowdsourced funding. So it always has to listen to the people, because this is a revolution led by the people and funded by the people. No country in this entire world is providing any sort of financial support to this revolution. It's sustained by the people. So NUG has to listen to its own people. And sometimes crowds, are often driven by emotions. So we need more sane voices. We need more facts and data to question us, challenge us as well. So please do that. And for that, you need to be more interested in Burma. So please continue to pay more attention to us is all I would say. And thank you very much, everyone, for your attention.
Thinzar, Shunlei, could I ask you to follow up with some thoughts to wrap us up?
Thank you. So for the first question, how ordinary Americans, I would say, just like what some of the discussants were saying, only when you are strong, you can support others. So I would say, please make sure the US has a strong democracy. Like, do not lose it to anyone. So make sure the democracy and the human rights remain intact in the United States, so that you can help other different nations. That would be my first, I think, a suggestion. And the other things, of course, you can follow the US campaign for Burma. They know better how you individually can support from the US. So I would suggest to reach out to the US campaign for Burma. And in my last note, I would say Myanmar people now, I would say after 3 years, they are now more experienced in being a refugee, being a displaced people and migrants. Of course, that does not mean that it is good for us, but they are now learning how to cope with a lot of different emerging situations, with the conscriptions, with the coming typhoons, the COVID, coup, conflict, cyclone, all of these things are coming at one time, and everybody have to suffer and endure through it. But in that sense, I think what's important is, of course, the material support is what needed, but the most important thing, I think, is moral support. The solidarity that you show, that you let people know that we don't forget them, the people are still remembered in different. So I think that also means a lot to us. Emotional support, mental health support all matter. But in my last note, I would say Myanmar, in the revolution itself, is trying to outsmart the previous revolutions, that we don't want to repeat the same cycle of violence, same cycle of impunity. So to break through this cycle, I think what important is how we treat our enemies when we conquer them, when we capture a township, how we treat them. Also talk a lot about our revolution. So from that sense, we are empowering the Defection and Defiance movement. In that Defection and Defiance, we are helping the current military soldiers and police to safely reconcile and reintegrate with the local communities and with the people of Myanmar by changing their ideas, by changing their way of thinking, that we are trying to break the pattern, we're trying to break the cycle. So in that sense, that movement is ongoing. And also for that, we are now increased number, we have increased number of prisoner of war, but they don't have prisons on ground to keep them alive, but people are trying so hard to keep them alive, to let the people know who are from military, letting them know we don't kill you, even though you are captured. And that's very important, humanizing the revolution. So we should support this kind of strategy in any way we can. That would be my last remark. Thank you.
Mara, can I turn it over to you and thank our panelists for a really stimulating conversation, which raised lots of questions in my mind, and I'll say that it would be fantastic to pick up more of these questions for topics of panels and future Peace Weeks. But for now, let me thank the panel. Thank you, Myra, for this wonderful job of organizing this. Turn it over to you, and I'll let you conclude. And
thank you so much. First and foremost, to our inspiring, amazing speakers, we deeply appreciate you taking time and sharing your experience, your expertise, and also the information on the ground and what should be done for our country and the people who are still suffering on a daily basis. And of course, the valuable participants, we wouldn't have had a successful event without you and your input. So thank you so much. So I just wanted to say, when there is a will, there is always a way. So the people of Burma certainly have the will to fight for their freedom, and they're doing so certainly and creatively and innovatively. And this is, if only the world can take an example from the people of Burma on how to take a movement to and peacefully involve into revolution against an oppressive regime. And with that, I just wanted to say that thank you so much to you all. Next, coming Friday, we have another event at 10 a.m. Sponsored by the Carter School. And the panel will be talking about women empowerment in 3 different areas of armed conflict, namely Afghanistan, Sudan, and Burma. And our speakers will talk about atrocities prevention and peace effort during time of intense conflict. And the event will be moderated by Ambassador Kelly Curry, a former U.S. ambassador at large for global women issues. And with that, I wanted to say, for more information, please visit our website, uscampaignforburma.org, and also our social media platform. Thank you so much. Have a good day.